Welcome back to the show, everyone. It is an honor, a true honor to be here with you today. We are diving into another episode of this new series I started a few months ago called Finding the Truth in the Middle. And the topic of today's discussion is going to be on this very common and popular colloquialism called self-healing. And I'd like to actually make this a two-part episode. So we're going to do two topics in one episode today because I feel like they correlate and they're short enough to talk about in one single episode. So the two topics are going to be self-healing today and this common conception of everything is perfect, you're just perfect the way you are, and everything is happening in your divine, what do they say? In your divine highest good, right? This is a very popular spiritualist phase. But before we dive into that, I just first want to welcome you and thank you. I have a lot in store for you today. I think you're going to find it very fruitful, very truthful, and very honest. You know, I started this podcast 2 years ago with the promise that I was going to be talking about hard truths, that I was willing to go into the deep stuff and serve it raw. and I've lived up to that promise to you, all the while getting vulnerable myself, getting humble myself. And I have to say, you know, I learned a lot of things along the way just from the content that I felt called to go into in my episodes. And to be honest with you, the reason that these topics come up to me is because I'm seeing them in real time, right? I'm working with people who are saying some common things. There's some common themes in the collective humanity right now. And it's just that God puts it on my heart to call these things out. You know, for whatever reason, there's a spirit of discernment in me to help us bridge this gap between religion and spirituality. And that's really what my aim and hope and purpose of bringing this to you is. So it's funny, you know, you would think that I'm some religious teacher with how much I talk about God and Jesus and finding these truths in the middle, but I'm not. I'm not a religious teacher. I consider myself more of a spiritual messenger. You know, that's the reason for this podcast and this platform. And so I just hope that it serves you. I hope that it's valuable to you. And as always, if it is valuable to you, I would love to just ask you if you find this episode or this show impactful, valuable, please share it with somebody, either 1 or 10 people that you love. And my hope is that this type of information can reach more people, helping them to be able to discern between the BS that we're being dealt right now more than any time I've ever seen before, and also to help awaken people. All right. That's my ask. Please just share it. This episode and this show is brought to you by my donors and contributors who remain anonymous. To Spark, the secret place, I thank you indebtedly. I really thank you for your undying support. And if you want to contribute or become a contributing member to this show or to Spark, the secret place, the Healing Collective, please email support@sparkflc.com and my team will instruct you on how to go about doing that. Okay, let's dive into the show today. We are finding the truth in the middle today of these two paradigms, one being the self-healing community, this self-healing era that we're in, and the other one being that everything is perfect and happening for your highest good and you're perfect and all of these things, right? That you have a perfect nature to you. So first of all, I want to explain that I'm well aware that these two cultures come from more of the new age spirituality realm, right? The self-healing model. And you know, to be honest with you, there are a lot of very popular, very big and influential psychotherapists and holistic therapists preaching the self-healing method and this self-healing concept. It's a very common colloquialism that we're hearing now, that that you are a self-healer and you need to be self-healing and doing all of these things. So let's just start there. And we're going to work our way down to this conception of everything is perfect. And then I'm going to tie the two together and how they actually correlate with one another. One being the myth that you are a self-healer, the other one being that everything is perfect, which actually in and of itself is a dichotomy and two things that oppose each other, right? Like if everything was perfect and you were just perfect, then you wouldn't need to self-heal. So you see this a lot in common, popular themes or mottos or motivation manifestos that sound really nice and become very popular is that they actually contradict some deeper underlying truth. Because if everything were perfect and you were perfect just as you are, then there would be no need for you to go into self-healing in the first place, which is also a myth. So let's just start there and talk about um the two paradigms, the two polarities, in order to find the truth in the middle here with, is it possible to be a self-healer? Are we self-healing? So the way that I would like to redefine this and to help us find the truth in the middle is by saying that healing is not self-healing. Nothing is self-perpetuated, self-done, self-manifested. We operate in a world filled with other people, and we also operate in a spiritual realm in which God is constantly at work, and so are other evil spiritual forces. So I would like to redefine this self-healing myth and call it a collaborative and cooperative healing. And this is actually what we should be pursuing and aspiring after, right? Forget self-healing. And you might ask me, why would we even have the need to debunk this or say that it's bad, right? Well, first of all, let's just define the way God designed us to operate. God designed us to operate in collaboration and community, first with Him, second with each other, right? Let's take it back to and I did this in the last episode too, taking it back to the very beginning, Adam and Eve. He said it's not good for Adam to be alone. So He made him a partner. And He also made them to be in direct contact, conversation, communication with Him. So here we see this triad of an effect, right? That man and woman should have each other, and that man and woman should have Him. Okay. And this is why self-healing is totally bogus, and it's actually very deceptive and misleading. And what it ends up doing is leading you to a dead end, a dead end. See, at the end of the day, nothing happens in isolation, right? We are all in community with each other, and no healing, no true healing anyway, happens without God. And like I said, not true healing, right? And so let's just start by breaking this down. Okay. Number one, and this is actually something that I hear from a lot of religious people, like in my field as a hypnotherapist and spiritual mentor and things like this. I have had some very religious people tell me, all healing happens with God, and what you're doing is wrong, and we don't need therapists like you, and this, that, and the other thing. And my pushback was, wrong. God gives us people, right? People in purpose, on purpose, to help us in our path. He gives us people because this is our purpose, right? So for me, helping and serving and teaching and guiding, that's part of my purpose. He hardwired me for that, and He hardwired other people for that as well, right? Therapy, other healers, somatic therapy, breath. So we are given people as a gift from God. It's like that very common little parable that says a man was thrown overboard, and to help illustrate this, there is a parable that is used, and it goes like this. Basically, a man was on a boat, and the boat shipwrecked out in the ocean. And he's flailing his arms in the water saying, God, help me, God, help me, God, help me, right? And so we'll scratch that part. And so I'd like to just use a very common parable, right? That there is a man burning in a building on fire, shouting out to God, calling out to God, God, help me, God, help me. So a fireman comes in to help rescue him. He says, no, 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 I'm waiting for God to help me. Sends the fireman away. They send a ladder up to him. Get on the ladder, get on the ladder. He says, I'm waiting for God to help me, right? And this man, and this is the parable, this man dies, he goes to heaven, and he says, God, I was calling out for you, why didn't you help me? And God says, I did. I sent you a firefighter, I sent you a ladder. And there's more to that parable that I'm not referencing right now, but basically the moral of the story is God sending people and resources in order to help this man be free and save his life. And the man thought that all of that was coming from God. And so my point with this is for those religious people that say, what you're doing is wrong and we need to seek God and all these things. Yes. And we need help from other people. Nothing happens in isolation. Even if, hear me out, even if you are not actively seeking healing by working with some practitioner or therapist or modality, even if that's the case, you learn and become inspired by other people in some way. If self-healing were truly, truly possible, then you would be able to go up into a mountain somewhere, disappear, and figure it all out by yourself. But that's not what we do, and that's not the case. We can't heal in a vacuum. We just can't. Now, the flip side to that is that nobody can do it for us, right? I'm not healing anybody. Your therapist isn't healing you. And part of the problem is people come to these places looking for somebody else to heal them, save them, do the thing, remove the emotional block. But the fact is that we need to participate in our healing, no matter who it is, person or God. We need to participate. And that's why I'm reframing this as a collaborative and cooperative healing process. So no, the person that you're seeking for help is not healing you, right? They are there to help, and they are potentially, possibly, hopefully sent by God in your path to help you, heal you, inspire you, guide you, give you sound wisdom, but you need to participate. But two things are true here. You need to both participate in that process fully, but you are not healing yourself. Do you see what I mean here? So our healing becomes inspired by others. And then we participate in that process. We meet that process halfway by taking a step towards it. I can tell you right now, there's no such thing as self-healing and there's no such thing as self-growth. There is collaboration and cooperation with the process, but we are always growing with or around someone else. Someone else. And the second part for this paradigm is that God heals, okay? Not self and not others. God is the one who truly, truly does the healing. No person heals. They're only here to assist and help and live into their purposeful gift as it pertains to where you are at any given moment. But no person is healing, and you not the healer, because you're not the creator. And this is the second part that we need to have in tandem with working with others and working with ourselves, right? There's a very fine harmonization that needs to happen as you're pursuing your growth and healing in any way, right? Because number one, this is a never-ending process. You are constantly growing. You are constantly going to be healing until you've arrived in heaven. And that's the second part we'll talk about in this show today. Until you have arrived in heaven, or heaven has come down here to earth, you will be healing and growing. That's the purpose of life. It's the purpose of life. Okay, so settle in, because it's a long ride. But most importantly is, since you are not doing the healing and others are not doing the healing, who is doing the healing, right? And the truth is that God is doing the healing. God does the healing. He truly does the healing. And it's amazing, because what God can do with a snap of a finger is what sometimes takes people years to get to, right? But things can change and heal and shift, and you can literally physiologically and at a cellular level change and heal just by one moment or one touch or one breath or one inspiration from God. And that's where the true healing begins. See, if people don't understand this and they think either one of two things, number one, my healer is healing me, or my therapist is healing me, or I'm healing me, then they end up in this perpetual, lifelong journey, bouncing from healer to healer, therapist to therapist, Tony Robbins conference to Tony Robbins conference, right? And let me just get all of these tools, more and more and more and more tools, more healing, more therapy, more modalities, more breath work, more meditation, more of all of these worldly things. And they end up never truly healed. right? They may be healing and working through and gaining new insights and wisdom and tools. And all of that's really great. It's actually, I'm not knocking that. That's a really amazing thing. But true healing doesn't happen that way. True healing happens when we collaborate and cooperate with the healer himself, which is God. And so I think at this juncture, it's important to define what healing is, right? And in a very simple way, I would just love to define healing as the restoration of something that he's either been broken, damaged, or injured in some way. Okay. Restoration. That's what healing really is a restoring to not just what it was before. Oh my gosh. A restoration not to what it was before the break or the injury. Actually, true healing is a restoration to some form or version of that thing in a stronger and better way. This is so freaking good. You need to get this, right? There is actually a Japanese style of pottery. It's called kintsugi. Look it up. It's Kintsugi, kintsugi. Kintsugi is a form of pottery restoration in which they take broken pottery, broken pieces of finished pottery, and they restore it by welding gold where the broken pieces were. So basically, in place of the fracture or in place of the break is now lined with gold. And this actually makes the pottery more valuable and stronger than it was before. And this is the case with true healing. And this is why, honestly, guys, this is why so many people don't reach this place, because they're trying to get themselves back to a version that they were before the break, when that's actually not the goal in healing. Healing is the restoration of something that's either been broken, damaged, or injured to something better than it was before. Okay. And this is why people who do heal with God, it's called God healing, right? People who heal with God and take that journey, they're different, right? They go through challenges. They may go through the same challenges as you, or you may go through the same challenges as them, and they come out different, better, stronger than before. Whereas a lot of people who are looking to heal are trying to get back to some version of themselves or simply be rid of the painful emotion. But true healing with God, and this is why I say that there's only one way to truly heal, and that is with God, right? Show me anybody out in the world who has said that they are healed or healing a certain thing by doing it without God, and I will show you where they are wrong. They are not healed. Because there's only one type of healing that is truly complete, and that is the type of healing that is called restoration, and that is only given and done by God himself. That's the truth. You may disagree or it may not land right, but it's the truth, because it's only through God that we get the fruits of the Spirit, right? Which is peace. We can manage pain. We can manage our weaknesses or our wounds. But to heal from them actually looks like they're actually no longer a wound anymore. They're a strength. It's a strength. And it's a strength without all of the baggage, right? It's a strength without all of the, I'm doing this in spite of, look how much I've overcome, or I'm doing this in strength while still carrying on the guilt or the anger or remorse or resentment, or sadness from what was, right? It's absence of all of those things. And by doing that, we end up actually more perfected. Oh my gosh, this is so good how this is going to tie in. We actually become more perfected in that process, right? When we are truly doing healing. So, self-healing, no, it's not possible. You are not self-healing. You are collaboratively healing, hopefully to a point of restoration. And you cannot do that by yourself. You cannot. You need two ingredients. Number one, God. Number two, other people. And I'm sorry, you need three ingredients. The third is yourself. It actually goes in this order. You need three ingredients: God, yourself, and other people, because God works through other people. The harmonization comes when we know to what proportion we need each of those things, right? If we have too much proportion of self-healing, and not enough God and others, we will not truly heal, right? We'll end up lonely, very miserable, and at a stalemate. If we have too much others healing and not enough of ourself involved or God involved, then we become like those people who are just constantly in need, looking for who's my savior, what's the secret. They're constantly, and you know these people, right? Come on, we all know these people. They're constantly enrolled in some course. They're constantly going to events or retreats or seminars. They're just constantly going to healers and therapy and doing these types of things. And hey, here's the thing, I'm putting myself on blast here, right? My clients don't stay with me all that long, right? At least not when we're working on the spiritual, mental, and emotional stuff. Fitness, yes, but my clients are with me for 6 to 12 months, and they're to a point where they fly. They're ready to go, right? People come to my retreats and I'm not babysitting them, because that's not how it's supposed to be. People who are operating that way are looking for you or somebody to save and heal them, and there's not enough of themselves and of God. Okay. And we can also have a disproportionate of being like, it's all God, it's all God, it's all God, it's all God. And thinking that he's just going to save you. Hey, listen. God gives you the food. He doesn't pick up the fork and feed you. You've got to do that. You've got to do that. Okay. God gives you the idea. He doesn't implement it and put it into action. You've got to do that. God gives you the people. He doesn't make things happen on your behalf. You've got to do that. So when we can get to a point where we know how to harmonize what proportion or what ratio we need of each of these things, God being number one, us being second, and others being third, now we're talking true healing. But that is not self-healing. If you listen to that description that I just portrayed, it's not self-healing. There's a very big difference. And it's important. It's very important, because for two reasons. Number one, when we do start to improve, we don't get deceived or arrogant in thinking, I did this myself. There is a difference between being proud of yourself for doing hard things, being a part of that process. Hey, I think you should honor yourself, and you should be proud for collaborating with God. But do not be arrogant to say, I did this. Remember, first pride, then the fall. Okay, so a healthy dose of pride and gratitude towards yourself and towards God for helping you through a process of healing is very, very healthy and very, very good. But by saying, and this is why I think that the enemy is working through these colloquialisms that say you are a self-healer. No, you're not. You're not a self-healer, because that would assume that you did it by yourself and you deserve all the credit. And that arrogance is a trap. It's a trap. When we're well aware, hey, I'm well aware of that there are things that I cannot heal by myself. I need help. And arrogance and self-healing lies and deceptions will tell you, you don't need help. You do it all by yourself. See how far you get there and how long you stay stuck. And that's exactly where the enemy wants you. Stuck, disconnected from other people, and arrogantly thinking that you're doing all this by yourself. You're not. Thank God, by the way, that you're not. Thank God, because it's what connects us to each other, and it's what gives people purpose, right? Even if you're not a therapist or a holistic spiritual coach and guru and all of these things, even if you're none of that, right? You're a friend, you're a mother, you're a daughter, you're a wife, you're a husband, you're a brother, you're a son, you're something to somebody. And doesn't it feel good? I'm just going to say this. Doesn't it feel so good when you help somebody and you can see that it helped them? It's like the most rewarding, most fulfilling thing ever. It's like they thank you and you're like, well, gee, thank you because this gave me such purpose and I feel good. That's the point. That's why God wants us to do this together. Is because not only are you helping somebody and they're receiving a gift from you, but by you helping them, you're actually receiving the wisdom that you're giving them, and it's helping you in the process too. My dad says to me all the time, I say, Dad, I'm sorry that I always, most of the time, I bring you problems that I need help with or advice on. And he said, honey, please, please don't stop doing that, because you and your questions and your thought processes inspire me to think, and it gets me growing. It keeps me growing. You're giving me a purpose to keep growing and pursuing something. Gosh, that is so beautiful. It makes me want to cry. It makes me want to cry. And how dare we remove the opportunity from somebody that truly has a heart to serve by saying, nope, I'm doing this by myself. I mean, hey, unless a season is calling you into isolation and solitude for a part of your healing journey, then for sure, absolutely, you must do that. But to say, I'm not going to take this to them because, number one, I'm arrogant and I don't want to ask for help, right? I don't want to be perceived as weak, so I'm not going to ask for help in whatever area I'm needing advice or help in. Number one, you're limiting and holding yourself back. And number two, you're removing and stripping away the opportunity for somebody to be really, really fulfilled and purposeful. And who knows, you're seeking them for something specific, could actually ignite or inspire something in them where they realize a deeper part of their purpose or a deeper part of their wounding. So you guys, I mean, I could beat this to the ground, but the point is that there's no such thing as self-healing. And there's no such thing as self-growth. Okay, because nothing is happening in isolation. I have a lot of people that I think would disagree with me on this, but the truer axiom here would be that we are collaboratively and cooperatively healing. Okay, yes, it has to be your choice and you have to participate. Yes, you do need others, so it's not happening in isolation. And yes, you do need God. All three of those are true, right? All three of those are true. But even when we take this to, growth-minded people who are doing self-growth, right? Well, what do they usually seek? Resources, people, podcasts, courses, books. They're seeking these types of things in order to grow. So even if you're just doing that by yourself, which I do a lot of, right? We all do a lot of, but I'm not growing by myself because I'm seeking the wisdom or the speaking or the reading of somebody else who is helping me to grow. I challenge you, I challenge you to cancel your therapist, cancel any healing sessions you have. Don't listen to any podcasts. Don't listen to any books that inspire you. Don't listen to anything or talk to anybody for a month. See how much you grow and heal. You won't be able to do it for a week. We need times of reprieve in removing ourselves from the voices and content of other people and other things. We need those times because it's very important that you can hear God's voice and your voice first. Those should be the two loudest voices in your soul, God and yourself. Those should be the two loudest voices in your soul. And in order to do that, you must have moments of reprieve and solitude and isolation, right? These are good things. But staying there too long will cause a stagnant, complacent, and somewhat depressing energy and thought process and mindset. It's important that we take those times of isolation. Jesus did it too. He said there were so many times when he would go off alone to pray and be by himself. But he always came back to be with people. Always. So even if there is a moment in your healing journey where it is more between you and God or you and your own ego, right? There will always be an essential and vital and necessary time for you to reemerge, reconvene with people, and seek new wisdom, new knowledge, new growth, new ways of healing, new people, all of these things. And so by doing it in this way, what we are hoping to do, I'll just repeat it, is to become restored in a way where, and here's where we're going to segue, in a way where we are better than we were before, in a pursuit of reaching our perfect potential, even though that is not physically possible. And here's where we're going to go, right? Here is a popular colloquialism in the spiritualist and new age community that says everything is perfect and you're perfect the way you are. Everything is perfect and you are perfect the way that you are. Now, where they're saying from is a place of, don't worry, there's no mistakes. Everything happens for a reason. And on your path, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And that's perfect in every way and all of these things. Hey, I get it. I get what they're trying to communicate. But I'm going to tell you right now that this is a deception. No, nothing is perfect. And you are not perfect just the way that you are. If you were perfect and if everything was perfect just as it is, there would be no pain, there would be no suffering, there would be no need to grow or to heal. The point of us existing on earth in a sinful world with sinful people is the fact that it's not perfect. That's the only thing that's real, that this is not perfect. If it were perfect, then there would be no need for God. And we know that there's only one perfect thing. There's only one perfect person. That was Jesus. And that's God. That's it. That's it. On earth, in the human realm, nothing is perfect, right? Nothing is perfect. You were made, and I love this, right? People say, you were made perfect. No, you weren't. You were made in the image of God. You were made in the image of God with a perfect intent. But you were born into a sinful world. So your nature is actually sin. People are like, oh, it's your nature to be peace and love and perfect. And it's your nature to be your soul. If it were your nature, it would be natural. But the truth is that it's more natural for us to gravitate towards negativity, fear, worry, sin, temptation. Like that's more natural, right? That's why we have to fight so hard against our natural instinct and intentions. Like we're constantly having this internal battle between our soul and our ego, right? Okay, there's a difference between it being natural and it being by divine or by divine intent, right? I think the intent that God has for us is perfect and good and all of these things. But the truth is that's not the nature of how things work in this world. If everything were perfect, we wouldn't need to do self-healing. We wouldn't need to do healing, period. We wouldn't need to do growth. We would be in utopia. Everything would be perfect. There'd be no pain, there'd be no suffering, there'd be no negative emotions, there'd be none of that. And there will be a time when we do reach that. But until heaven comes to earth, that's not the case. A better way, and this is how we're going to find the truth in the middle, a better way of phrasing this is that everything can be worked for your good when you're working with God. And this is coming back to a collaborative mindset. Perfect is such a dangerous illusion for the following reasons, right? Number one is it disempowers us from taking full ownership of ourselves and of our life. Because if everything's perfect, then there's really not a lot of risk for making bad decisions or wrong decisions or letting something evil in, right? We go through this life with this illusion of perfect in an invincible type of way. And we get ourselves into big trouble, right? Now, I work a lot in the spiritual way with a lot of people. And you guys, I have seen possessions entities on people, people being literally haunted. And I mean haunted by entities, not like by their own inner demons, because they've opened up portals in some way, didn't even realize it. And it's because they have this mindset of everything's perfect, it's fine, I'm invincible, God's working all things for my good. And it's like, no, no, that's not true. That is why God puts provision in place. It's why he puts laws in place, rules. It's why he warns us against certain things. He warns us against dabbling with certain things, against certain thought processes, against certain ways of distancing ourselves from God. It's like the warnings are all over the place. So no, not everything is perfect. In fact, the thing that we can accept is that nothing is perfect, and that's exactly why we need God. See, if we think that everything is perfect, then we have no need to rely on God. We have no purpose to rely on God or to be mindful of our actions, thoughts, and where our heart goes. Okay? If everything is perfect, then we accept our most harmful of traits or our wounded traits or us doing something wrong or us passing up opportunity or us not growing up to the version of ourselves that God wants us to be. We accept this as a perfect part of how things should be. It's just perfect. You're perfect the way that you are. No, you're not. That's why you need God. That's why you need healing. That's why you need restoration and redemption. That's why we need all of those things. If you were perfect, you'd be like Jesus and you wouldn't be in this world. And number 3, we settle for less than our potential. So if I think that everything's perfect and I'm growing at the perfect rate and all of these things are perfect, then I'm not in a pursuit that is passionate towards my perfect potential. See, I believe that everybody has a perfect potential, right? But there's a difference and there's always a gap between what is the potential for us versus what are we able to do right now. Now, what we can acknowledge is the fact that with the set of tools and circumstances and wisdom and resources that you have right now, are you either seeking or living into the best possible potential for you at that given time? Right? Like if I'm immature in my faith and I'm only doing what I know to be doing at this time with what I have, and I don't even know that there's something else out there or something greater out there that I need to be learning and growing in, then, yeah, you've got to accept and have grace for yourself. And this is where I say, have grace for yourself that at this moment in time, these are the resources that you have. This is the experience that you have. This is the knowledge that you have. Do what you possibly can with that. And this helps us too when we get into circumstances of regret. Okay, regret or worry or just kind of ruminating on the past of like, could I have done more? Could I have done more? And hey, that's a good question to ask. It's actually a very healthy question to ask. But we have to relate that question to what we knew at the time. So you can't say, well, could I have done more? Well, yeah, because I have all of these new resources, right? You looking back at that moment from the place that you are today, of course the answer is going to be yes, because you know more now. You're grown up now. You're at least older than you were before. You have new vision, new perspective. So of course you're going to say, yes, I could have done more because of what you know now. But you have to actually go back in time, travel back to the point where you were when whatever happened, and say, okay, based on what I had at that time, could I have done more? Or did I do everything I could with what I knew and had at that time? That is an honest question that you need to ask yourself. And that will help you, right? But even this is signifying that you're not perfect. Because if you were perfect, there'd be no more knowledge to have. There would be no new tools that you needed to acquire. And the fact that you do and that you've been seeking that signifies that you're not perfect, which, you guys, is actually a beautiful, beautiful acknowledgement to make about yourself and about the world. And here's why. Because when I say I'm not perfect. I, number one, take my decisions more seriously and more importantly. I take how I treat people more seriously and importantly. And I take my relationship and the importance of my relationship with God more seriously because I know that since I'm not perfect, I can't do it all by myself. I need Him. And guess what? He is way stronger than you and all of the people with their tools and resources and motivational speeches combined. So, us acknowledging I'm not perfect. In fact, I'm far from perfect. I'm actually very weak at times, is not a self degrading mindset to be in. It's actually a very empowering mindset to be in because it helps you rely on and set your feet on the only thing that is perfect and certain and strong, no matter what winds blow your way. Oh my gosh. The acknowledgement that I am not perfect actually frees me up to put my feet on something solid, foundational, and trustworthy. Because here's the truth, you can't trust yourself. You can build trust and you can learn to trust yourself and the voice of God within you. But when emotions are flowing, baby, woo, they can misguide you easily. Right now, we can get better at being able to handle our emotions and say, weather the storms, right? And not make decisions based from emotional pain, right? But we still make mistakes. Yes, mistakes are possible. See, in this mindset of everything's perfect and you're perfect, people will try to tell you in the spiritual community, spiritual gurus will tell you that there's no such thing as mistakes. I have news for you. There are such things as mistakes, and we make them all the time. That doesn't mean God can't use them, but just because God can use your mistakes doesn't mean they weren't mistakes. Right? And when I say mistake, what I mean by that is let's just define that, okay? What is a mistake in my terms and in this with this spiritual topic? A mistake is anything that is outside of God's intent or design or alignment for you in your life. That's really what a mistake is. That's why we need to check ourselves. That's why we need to take our decisions and our thought processes to God to say, all right, I don't want to make a mistake here. I don't want to miss out on what you have for me here. So help me make this decision. Guide me, right? That's the purpose. That's the purpose. If I have this disillusional mindset that there are no mistakes, everything works for good, and everything is perfect, then I'm going to willy-nilly my way through life, not thinking too long about any which decision I'm going to make or people I'm going to be with or sleep with or do anything. And I'm just going to say, it's fine. Everything happens for a reason, right? Everything is perfect and there are no mistakes. God will use it. Yes, God's going to use it if you want Him to, for sure. That again comes down to a collaborative effort. But that does not mean that it was God's design for you. That does not mean that that was God's path for you and that He charted that course, right? I have made many mistakes. And I actually used to believe this, right? That, wow, this is God's a funny way of God taking me through this. And it's like, Sarah, I mean, not all of that was God taking you through something. Sometimes you decided to take the wheel and steer the car in your own direction. And doesn't mean that God left you during that. Like God was always there, but He's like, all right, well, if you don't want my help, seems like you got this. We'll see how far you get, right? That does not mean that that was God's path for your life. Okay. And this is not to scare you into saying like you're going way off track and you're never going to fulfill God's potential for you, because at any moment, you could say, all right, you're right. I want God's hands on the wheel. I want to do this together, right? And immediately you course correct. Immediately He takes you back on the path. Now, there may need to be some correction involved, some corrective measures, right? If I've gotten so far off the path that my path is now way over here and there are like mountains in between me, the path that I've carved out and the path that God had for me, I'm going to have to go through some shit to get back to the path that God has carved out for me. Does that make sense? Because sometimes we've aligned ourselves with people. My gosh, when we are relinquishing control of the path of our life and giving it back to God, God's going to correct us. All right, thanks. Thanks, Sarah, for giving me the wheel back. I'm going to take us over here now where we belong. In the process, you're going to have to say goodbye to that, and those people there. Because, right? Because since we chose to dictate our path, now we've aligned ourselves with people that aren't actually on our true path. My gosh. Because of the fact that we've taken the wheel and we've taken ourselves off of God's path, which is possible, by the way. We've taken ourselves off of God's path. Now we've aligned ourselves with people on this path that's not really our path, right? We've aligned ourselves with people, ideas, businesses, things, career choices, money, name it, right? We've aligned ourselves with these things thinking that we're on the path, everything's fine, everything's perfect. Well, when we say, God, you know what? You're right. You can have the wheel back. Get me back on my path. God's going to say, all right, are you willing to say goodbye to those things? Because not all of those things not all of those things actually belong on your path. And so if you're going to be on your path, you're going to have to allow certain people to leave that were never meant to be on your path, or you're going to have to leave certain people and things that were never supposed to be on your path. And are you willing to do that? Right? This process, though, comes down to an ability and a willingness to be honest with yourself, to really have a healthy dose of truth with a capital T, to say, yep, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm off. I'm off my course. I'm off the path. I'm off the path that God wants me to be on. And one of the things that bothers me more than anything with these spiritualist communities and the new age bullshit is there's more than one path up the mountain, meaning there's more than one way to God. And that is not true. There's one way to God, that's to Jesus. And God does have a path for you. He does have a path for you. Is it possible to always be and know that we're on that path? I mean, I don't think indefinitely, but I think that you will be course corrected through little inklings, little intuitions, little moments of inspiration. If you can stay in constant communication and prayer with God, because that's how he communicates. But by thinking that everything is perfect and you are perfect just the way that you are, what is going to make you check in to see, hey, am I right? Am I right? Am I on the money? Am I doing the right thing? Am I on my path? Do you need me to do something different here? Do you need more of me? Do you need me to let go more? What do you need, right? If I think I'm perfect, I don't have any need to check in with that. This is why it's so dangerous, you guys, and this is why I'm calling it out. Because it's important that we know the truth in the middle here, because these axioms that sound really, really nice, by the way, these are things that we would want to hear. My ego wants to hear that everything's perfect and that I'm perfect just the way that I am. My ego wants to hear that it's okay. You don't have to think too much about your decisions because everything happens for a reason. That's easy, right? That takes away so much need to think about things, and I can just float and flow through life, not thinking too long or seriously about anything, saying, well, I trust that all things are working for my good, and if it's meant to be, it'll be, and everything's perfect. No. We need to collaborate and take full ownership and partnership of our lives with God and with others. You guys, others are a point of healing for us. I should say an ingredient, a variable for healing for us, but they're also a variable for our biggest pains, right? Which is somewhat of a dichotomy to say that I need other people to heal. And yet most of the time I'm healing from what people have done. Figure that one out, right? The beautiful tapestry that we all exist in, that God put us here to be, right? Most of our pain, actually, I would say all of our pain comes from the dealings or the circumstances with other people. And so again, my ego would want to hear self-healing, right? Don't heal with others because you're scared of others. You have learned through your trauma and through your pains, you have actually learned to be afraid of other people. Dang. Through your traumas, your experiences, your life, you've actually learned to fear people, whether it's fear of them breaking your heart, fear of being too close to them, fear of trusting them, fear of what people will think, fear of what people will say, fear of being excluded, name it. All of our maladaptions and dysfunctions have come from people. And yet, the double-edged sword to that is that we also still need people to heal. And if healing is restoration, that we come to a stronger place on the other side of the injury than we were before, then guess what also happens with healing? Yeah, stronger relationships with other people. And that is a juice of life. That is a sweetness of life. That is a gift of life. And through that restoration process, we are able to come into relationship with people in a way that is not based out of fear, but it is based out of true love. And on the last episode of Finding the Truth in the Middle, I talked about an aspect of God's love and how a part of that was boundaries. And when we can figure these things out and restore and heal, it helps us to set boundaries with people in love because we're not scared of losing them, hurting their feelings. What will they say about me? What will they think about me? Right? Because we've shifted into true love, which is the absence of fear. But if you are perfect and everything is perfect, then you'll have no desire or need to restore something that is actually damaged inside of you, that is holding you back from experiencing true love with God, yourself, and others. This is a myriad effect in both of these paradigms. Number one, the self-healing, and number two, that everything is perfect. The truth in the middle of both of these is that it requires a collaborative, cooperative effort between you, God, and others. That is the space that we exist in harmony with God, yourself, and with others. We do have the ability and the potential to make mistakes. And we do it all the time. We do have the potential to make decisions that are outside of God's will and path for us. And we do it all the time. That does not mean that you're broken and messed up and, hopeless and all of these things. It means you're human. It means you're human. And despite what gurus and spiritualists would tell you about what it means to be spiritually ascended, this does not involve you transcending anywhere, any place, or anything. This has to do with you merging yourself with God and with others. To be able to operate in this human realm, in this physical world, in a state of restoration and love, despite the fact of how the world really is, that is a true sign that you are spiritually conscious, spiritually awake, spiritually wise, spiritually ascended. So when we seek self-healing, we actually limit our healing. We limit our spiritual growth. We limit our ability to connect. We limit ourselves in a lot of ways. And if I say in isolation that I've healed my wounds, right? My wounds that have been caused by other people, and as long as I stay in this room right here, away from other people, I'm peaceful. I'm fine. I'm great. But as soon as I go out into the real world and be with people or be with family and it sends me into an uproar, have I really healed? No. It's easy for me to sit in here away from people and be like, I'm zen, I'm peaceful, I'm so high, right? Put me in a group with people or around people that have hurt me. Now we get to really see how healed I am. And by restoring that, by truly healing, if I'm healing correctly, that means that not only can I put myself into a room with people that have hurt me, I actually get to be with them in a more loving, more grounded, and more peaceful way based on my experience. That's what that would mean. And I'm not even saying that I've done this, right? There are certain people in which I know that if I were to be around them, I would still be altered in a way, right? I wouldn't be actually stronger, more empowered. There are certain people in my life that have hurt me in such a way that I am still actually healing from that hurt, from that pain, from the past. And I am not naive to know actually can't do that by myself. I cannot do that. I've tried the self-healing. And I finally got to a point where I say, you know what? I can't do this by myself. I need help. I need your help. And I take this to God, right? I need your help, God, because I don't think I could do this by myself. I really need your help healing this because even though I can operate well, perform well, do good things and go on about my life doesn't mean that that still doesn't have a hook or a trigger in me, or there's a fracture in my system, in my soul, in my spirit, and in my body that is still deriving from that person and that experience. And you know what? It shows up when you're under pressure, right? When things are all gravy, you're like, no, I'm pretty sure I healed from that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I healed. I can talk about it now. I can talk about it without being emotional. So I'm pretty sure I've healed from that, right? But here's what happens, and here's how you know that you're not. You get under a lot of pressure, either in different areas or areas that may actually remind you of that hurt that somebody did, or you just become very overwhelmed, right? There's a lot of things, multiple big things, heavy things happening at one time. And all of a sudden, you see all of your cracks, right? You start folding under pressure, you start snapping at people, you start doing whatever, and you say, holy crap. And all of a sudden this comes up, right? Like, why am I thinking about this that happened 25 years ago, right? Right now, in the midst of something else that has seemingly nothing to do with that incident, right? Why am I thinking about this right now with all of this going on? Because you're not healed from it, because it's still a fracture, which is fine, right? Like, thank you to the rest of the things that were happening, because it exposed me to a part of myself that I thought I was healed from, but obviously I'm not, right? And you guys, this actually happened for me recently. It's under a lot of pressure, just kind of burning myself at both ends. And all of a sudden, I just became so angry towards somebody and about something that has happened in my childhood, from being raised. And I realized, oh my God, I still have these wounds. I still have them, because what I resorted to was a memory that was adding to my sadness in a time when I was sad about something else, right? I was sad about something else, but all of a sudden my mind started clinging to these moments in the past where, see, remember, you have all this to be sad about too. And it affected me hardcore. And that's how I knew I wasn't healed from it. And that's when I said, all right, I give up. I've tried to do this self-healing thing and get over it, and I've moved on, but I haven't moved past it. And so this is when I realized, no, nothing is perfect. I'm not self-healing, and I need help with this. And so do you. I speak to you in this way because I'm just like you, right? We're all human, living this human experience. So for me to say these things, it's not because I'm speaking at you, I'm speaking with you, because I'm going through this real time, or have gone through it real time, or know that I will probably go through it in real time, right? There's no reason to hide from this truth, this information. In fact, the more we hide from it, the further we come from wholeness and healing and restoration. And if that's truly what we want, right? If growth and healing and wholeness and purpose is truly what we want, then we'll be able to, we're looking for the truth, eyes wide open, even if that means that we are exposed to the cracks in ourself. And we are all cracked, right? That's why God is called the potter, because he's constantly molding you and then, replacing your fractured parts with gold. It's a beautiful, beautiful analogy to think that you are like a piece of pottery that has been fractured and broken by the world at times. And that God represents the gold that comes in to weld the two pieces together, actually making you more valuable and more durable and more strong. He's restoring what has been potentially broken or damaged or fractured by the world. And that is what healing is. That is what healing is. So no, you can't self-heal. You need God and you need others and you need yourself to be a willing participant. Okay, because God can be moving all day long and you are just waiting for some supernatural miracle, which those do happen, but they don't happen usually without your participation, or you're waiting for somebody else to do it. Okay, it's collaborative and cooperative healing. That's what true healing does. And that's what it is. And no, nothing is perfect. The world is not perfect. Things are not perfect. You are not perfect. The world is flawed. The system is flawed. You are flawed. And that actually is the beautiful part of the human experience. Because with our flaws, we are able to have greater compassion for others, for ourselves. We have a pursuit to pursue healing, growth, progress, and we have a reason to rely on God. This is a very important truth in the middle to find and to grasp at this specific time in history. Remember that the way that the enemy works is by taking a truth and twisting it just a little bit. That's how deception happens. When you think that you're self-healing, well, two things happen. When you do make progress, you think it was all because of you. And when you don't, you think it's all because of you and it's all your fault. So you're either the grand savior or everything is your fault. Can't be in the middle. When we acknowledge that there are a lot of aspects that go into our healing, namely we need God and we need others, then we know that we're not the ones saving ourselves. Neither is anybody else solely. And we also know that if something doesn't happen, it's not completely our fault and it's not somebody else's fault either, right? It's not that black and white. And when we operate in a way that we can acknowledge that we are not perfect, we take ownership over the importance of what our decisions mean, the timely manner in which we pursue our purpose, and taking that with urgency, but not strife. Oh my gosh, I just need to say that one more time, right? We pursue our purpose and finding our purpose with a sense of urgency, not strife. That is the difference. Because I recognize that I'm not perfect. And I recognize that I can make mistakes. And hey, shit, I want to get this right. So this is important. I need to sit with this, or I need to pursue this very passionately. Okay? That doesn't mean we have strife along with it. So moral of the story, the truth in the middle with these two paradigms is that we are cooperatively healing with God, yourself, and with others, all three of those, the myriad effect. And you are not perfect. You are a constant work in progress. And true healing is the restoration of something that's been broken into something stronger than what it was before. You guys, I really hope that this episode brought you value and it made sense, right? I will continue to pursue the truth at all costs. And most of the time, it's like we have to disassemble or demantle some myths that we have been building our lives on that are in themselves faulty, weak, and very unreliable. Very unreliable. And I see this with some people in my life right now, that they have built their life on things that sound really good, but it's like building your home on plastic, right? Because the first sign of any sort of movement or pain or trial or tragedy in your life, and the whole thing comes crumbling down. Now, not only are you left with a broken home, but you're left with a massive amount of confusion and chaos to say, what is what here, right? So it's important that we build our home on a foundation that is strong, reliable, and one that we can have true confidence in. Because then when tragedy strikes, then when a gust of wind comes up, the whole thing doesn't come falling down, right? We may have a couple shutters that fall off, but our foundation will always remain. And that is what having the truth with a capital T can do for us. Do not go for what sounds good and what you want to hear and what you want to be true. Go for the real truth. What is real, what is true. Then you can build your life on that. I love you. Peace be with you. And please, if there's something that I can pray for you about or pray over you, I would love to do that. You can email me, sarah@sparkflc.com. Follow me on all social media channels, Sarah_Spark Malone. I'm here for you. I love you. And I would love to see you at my next retreat in November. It's November 7th through 11th. And this is all about helping you to connect with God and connect with others for a truly, truly healing and transformative experience. And it's not because we're teaching you to self-heal, and it's not because I'm doing some voodoo magic. It's because I'm helping you to connect with God in a really, really experiential way, and to connect with yourself so that you can collaborate and do this and get in tune with this whenever, and the power of doing it with other people. Because I can tell you, oh my gosh, I can tell you that when all three of those are present, like at my retreats, transformation is bound to happen. Transformation always does happen. If you are open, willing, and ready. So I have 5 spots left for that retreat, November 7th through 11th. If this is of interest to you and you're ready to take this seriously, go to my website, reserve your spot, or book a call with me. We can talk about details if there are any other questions that you have that my website does not answer. It's sparkflc.com/retreat. I will see you guys there. I love you so much. And please keep an eye out for my new book, Affirmations for a Peaceful Life. It is being released in about a month. We are taking a pre-order list. So I've already got people on the wait list for this book. This is oh my gosh, divinely channeled book for a very specific time, such as now. And I'm telling you, it has come in very, very fruitful for me. I've read my book obviously multiple times now because I'm writing it and reading it and rereading it and editing it and doing all these things. And I swear to you, every time it's like I get a new nugget of truth. And it's for all different circumstances of life, all the circumstances that us humans go through, and how to find peace within that. So go check out my book. I hope it blesses you. Please share it. Please send it. Buy copies for your work or your school or whatever. And let me know if you want to be put on the wait list. I love you guys so much. Again, if this episode or podcast brought you value, please share it with 1 or 5 or 10 or 20 people that you love. And until next time, love you so much. We will talk to you very soon.